And good day. You're flying Tironan's very unfriendly skies, and today we are introducing, excuse me, issue 9. Now, there are two versions of this, and World War Planes chose the first one, I guess because it fit in it better with the Tier 8. And this is a prototype that was actually had a few of them built and never went very far. The primary problem was that by the time this thing was all finished up, the MiG-15 was coming along, and it was by far a better aircraft. Okay, well, that explains that, and they discontinued. They went through some further, I shouldn't say they discontinued it, they went through some further upgrades, and eventually wanted to do re-engine this with 9 centrifugal engine copies, and that was declined, and that was the end of the project. The aircraft, as you see now, is the RD-10, which is a copy of the Junkers Umo 004. I believe that's correct. And it was a direct competitor to the BMW 003. These things, as originally rated, were about 1,300 pound-feet of force coming out of it. And you hit the upgrades here. The upgrades, they eventually got it up to 24-25 foot-pounds of thrust. And as such things go in this age, it's very comparable to the 3,000 pound thrust they're getting out of the J-33. The aircraft the Soviet Union worked by the design bureaus where one-offs would be cast and then it would be assigned a factory. In this case, the design bureau came out, a factory built a prototype or two, then a couple more for upgrades, and then we're prepared to do another one for the 9, but the Soviet Union at the time, leadership just didn't think it'd be worth the effort. Happens all the time in U.S. aviation. It's a different process, but nonetheless, you have to evaluate what you got against what you're going to spend money on. And that was the case here. Now, as the aircraft relates to the game, this is a Soviet Union multi-role fighter that actually has ordnance. See, right there, 2 500-pound bombs, 250 kilograms to be exact. Which makes this thing about 550 pounds for the uninitiated, 2.2 pounds to the kilogram, gentlemen. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how it performs. First off, it's like a lot of the it's kind of slides between a heavy fighter and a multi-role, in my opinion. The guns are okay. 530. They're more than enough to get the job done. It's the same cannon setup that you will see in the MiG-9, the MiG-15, and those work wonderfully. And it does here too. So there's no real issue there. The survivability is 450, which is pretty darn good. And the airspeed is where it begins to fall down a little bit. Now without ordnance, take the ordnance off. 280, and when you put the ordnance on, 288. Oh, let me go back and look at this, see if it makes any difference or not. I'm not seeing much. Yeah, it costs you a whopping 6 miles an hour, or about 12 kilometers per hour, I would think. And in Tier 8, that's okay. There are aircraft out there much faster. Let me give you another comparable. There's a heavy fighter. This is the XF-5U. Now that's carrying the Tironan rockets and it's coming in at 371. Oops. So you're giving up almost 100 miles an hour. Let's take a look at another multi-role. 292. Now this is more comparable and it's carrying a full load of RM4s. And then here's the British Westland product, the P1056. And the airspeed on that is 356. So it's not all that great from the okay, so you're looking at 14.9 here, 13.1, 10.5. I'll throw in a 262, 14.9. In that regard, this aircraft is pretty well set up, and you can make it better. Okay, there's no reason why you, for one thing, you get this cannon, and this one reaches out to a whopping 3401, and I'm sorry, make sure that's the research price. I'm still 3,401 points away. Just let me excuse that. Effective firing range on this is 3444. Which is really reaching out there, and says the velocity must be something else. Rate of fire goes down, damage per second is going down a little bit. I don't know how much I believe that. Unfortunately, you can't just click on it and get it. So, well, this is the way we're going to play it. All the engine upgrades are available to you. You saved your mods, so it's just a matter of putting them on. And then you've got the this is standard, I should say, this is also, there was no research shots, you just purchased them and mounted them. The bombs you actually have to research, so this is pretty much a mid-tier configuration, and when you get this, which will happen with the next flight, you'll get the be at a top tier, and I'll do a final review on it at that point. Shouldn't say final, but the finished, fully upgraded review. Now, you can disagree with me all you want and do what you want here, but my thoughts on this, I wanted a decent gun. It's one of the few things it has that works real well for it. And then I went with the polished skin, and I went with the uprated engine. So I'm obviously trying to improve speed. Conversely, you could, if you wanted to, change this out to, the lightweight airframe. You go with a lightweight power plant and try to get some of that back. You get it under 12 seconds. Which would put you right in line with the F4U and those sorts of aircraft. All in all, it's a solid meh to me. It's not one that strikes me as, oh, I'm so happy I got this aircraft. Then again, I am getting wins off of it. I don't know if it's just the fact that nobody's gotten used to me flying these things yet, or the fact that I'm willing to maneuver a little bit more. I will say, against other heavy fighters, ground attack aircraft, multi-roles, it does okay. Don't get anywhere near a fighter and expect to win, but it does okay. And 1,000 pounds of ordnance dropped correctly can still have an effect on the ground effect team. So it covers the multi-role section fairly well. It just isn't very fast. And if you're still going up lines and you really want this line, that's fine. If not, well, I kind of feel like this. So World of Warplanes controls these lines, and you've got to give a customer something for their money, for the time invested. And I don't feel like it's always here. If it was faster, this thing was coming in at a 315, 320, 330 range, it might be something else. But when you got things like this you can go to, you know, you just, it makes you wonder what they were thinking. Okay, I would much rather have two 10 rockets than 373 371 100 miles per hour in my pocket than you know. So I'm left questioning where they thought this was going to fit in. And I'm just doing this from a design standpoint, not from a historical standpoint. As far as I'm concerned, it's just another prototype. Um, if they want to go back to historical standards, you're really going to have to revamp the entire lines, and the howls will be continuous and piteous. There would be no I-250s. Well, actually, they did use the I-250 as a cheap trainer, you know, a lot of the prototypes and wannabe planes would have to go away, right? Um, so, yeah, I just don't see that happening. So, the bottom line is, if I was a World War planes, I'd give this plane at least another 30 miles an hour, so it had something to say. Yeah, by God, this is a good reason to have it. Um, Otherwise, I'm just kind of left in the dark. And we'll be starting a video here shortly, and we'll take it from there. All right, folks, we'll stand by for part 2. Okay, and welcome to Tironan's Unfriendly Skies, and today we are flying the SU-9. I don't sound excited, do I? That's because I am not. And mind you, I have flown 4 games in this. I have won 3 of them. And every time I fly this aircraft, I come away going, meh. I want to say meh. Alright, so let's get on to what we're doing in the game here. We have a mining plant. I want to help capture it. And then I want to head over to the command base and see what I can do over there. I got a pair of 500-pound bombs, and it really isn't enough to damage or take a major armored target like this. But I'm going to drop the bombs in such a way that it should make it easier to destroy the buildings with cannon fire. Now, how well that's going to work in practice, I don't know. What I do know is that, you know, this is what I got, so that's what I'm going to deal with. So I'm getting rid of the 2 stacks because they got in my way, and the big building blew up because I could. Or because it was so damaged, I assume because a 500-pound bomb went off in the middle of it. That leaves me with 5 targets left. Let's get to it. Having that smokestack fly around after I finish a run doesn't help. The tank blew up underneath me as I left. I'm going to assume that's due to fire. I am using universal ammunition. Universal information. Can't tell I had an IT background, can you? Okay, because sometimes it will set fires to stuff, and even when you think you hadn't won something, it'll blow up on you. Like the bunker just did. Okay, that takes care of that. And we have a ground attack aircraft. Well, we used to have a ground attack aircraft. That was enough to take the base. You will also notice in all that time my bombs have not regened, and I believe the time for resync on these is about 160 seconds. It may be longer than that. Usually have other things to do than catch sync counts. So we got it. Nonetheless, we have to deal with it. Okay, that's life. We're going to head over to the command base. Take it from there. Alright, so we're coming up on it. Looks like we'll have a couple of bombs here in a little bit. Haven't punched the Alt key, obviously. Looks like you got all sorts of people hassling overhead, though. That was useless, by the way. Just me being frustrated more than anything. Yes, I do have a temper. Once in a while. But I have two targets over here I can hit, and I can get this base back for my side. And that helps, but you'll notice we got somebody overhead too. I'm going to drop a bomb here. And I'm going to assume somebody took out a bomber up above me. Because that just flipped over way too easy. Alright, so if you got good guns, then and you can't dogfight, then you have to hit things from range, right? Now, I'm not going to dogfight with a couple of fighters, so I'm getting out of their way. And there's a target. And at this range, I don't care how you flip and slide, you just matter getting your pepper on the right place and you can kill them. And I'd flat missed. And he rams. Yeah, I'm impressed. Great meta there, World of Warplanes. Really just love it. I did the calculations on pound-feet of energy that would be generated by using a MiG-15, fairly light fighter for its time, traveling at 300 miles an hour, well below its cruising speed. And energy equals mass squared, or energy equals mass times velocity squared, to be exact. And I came up with 1.59 million pound-feet of energy. And if an aircraft has been built to this day that can survive that, now that's the most conservative assumption you're ever going to see. Because you'll notice that I didn't mention the energy from the other aircraft crashing into it, which you could conservatively, very conservatively, double. If you want to take a Sabre, that was a 11,000 pound aircraft, and the MiG-15 was coming in right around 9,200 pounds of weight, and a closing speed something close to what they could actually do. You would be at 700 miles per hour. So that would be what, 20,000 pounds, give or take a couple hundred pounds. That's empty weight. Add 2,000 pounds of fuel to each aircraft. That's the end of our rammer robot. May you rest in pieces. And so now we're up to 24,000 pounds. And if you do the math, I think you would be staggered. And the way you do the math is you convert the miles per hour to feet per second.
I'm proud of you, pilot. Head back home.
And then you square it. And then you would times it by 24,000 pounds. And that will give you pound-feet of energy. Now, you'll notice, I didn't do anything spectacular with the aircraft because I've got nothing to do it spectacularly with. It's a competent killer because of the guns and because I'm a pretty good aim with them. If you kind of ignore where I missed the 262 where I should have clobbered him. He was coming out of a cloud. I guess I can claim that in my defense. But you can see the score is nothing spectacular. And so I am left looking at this plane going, meh. I didn't like the 9U. I didn't like the 9. I like this aircraft better than either the Yak 9 or the Yak 9U. But I'm still going, eh. This is not an aircraft I'm going to recommend you go up unless you really want the 211 or something. There were better choices in the SU line. You could have gone with the actual SU-9 that got the designation the second time. You could have gone with the SU-11. Both would have been better choices than this. I don't understand. Competitive. And I'm not going to recommend it. It's just... No, I shouldn't feel like after a win where I've done everything about as right as you're going to do it. You can take the 262 and chalk that up against me, I guess. But bottom line is that I flew it pretty well. And I've finished this, so I'm not very excited about the aircraft. And I want to be excited about the aircraft I play. The IL-40 does its job great. The F-86 does its job great. The Big 9 does its job great. The Yak-19 does its job great. And this one leaves me feeling like meh. I don't want to feel like meh. I want something better. Y'all take care of yourselves. Remember to like, subscribe to the video. Thank you. See you tomorrow. You've been flying the very Unfriendly skies with Tironan, where everyone wants you dead.